Hey, and welcome to Tales from the Dark Side. We've got an interesting crew with us today. We've got from the guy that knows everything about all the toys, every type of toys, especially Star Wars toys. Pete, what's going on?
What's up?
We have Jen returning. This is Jen's little project, so we're reviewing Clone Wars to fill the gap between this and that. Jen, nice to see you.
Hey.
For all you that don't know, we have a good friend of ours, a friend of the show, Shannon. Shannon, say hi.
Hey, nice to meet you, everybody.
There you go. There you go. All right. Hey, so we're reviewing 301 and 303. 301 is the Clone Cadets. Very interesting, these real quickly. Here is our watch list, and we will end up sharing the end watch list with you too for next week at the end. Yeah, end and end. Yeah, it's one of those days. I'm still under the weather. Okay, give me a break. All right, so here we go. We have got the Clone Cadets. The Clone Cadets pretty much follows the Domino Squad, which for those that played, you know, it was kind of cool. A lot of these reminded me, a lot of the scenes in the 2 reminded me of Battlefront 2. Like if you play Battlefront 2, there are some of these, and some of the episodes that come up to file remind you a lot of like the clones in 5, because you got Heavy in it, right? And Heavy is a character you can play in Battlefront 2, so it was pretty cool. Also, too, Pete put this slide up here. Pete, why'd you put this slide up here?
Well, even when they were the Domino Squad was failing, they were calling themselves like a Bad Batch, and then we'll get to Clone 99 in a little bit. But I just kind of like the little tip of the cap to the idea of a Bad Batch.
It was, and I think that's where it came from, right? Like Bad Batch originally was when Dave talked about it before. He's like, this is something we mentioned earlier, and we kind of wanted to like it caught back up, which is weird because Dave always does that, right? Like that's how Voss worked out. He saw him in the background of something. That's how a lot of these characters that he creates, he's like, oh, well, I remember saying that a couple times. Let's dive into that. And then he comes up with these great stories from it. Obviously, Bad Batch didn't make the original Clone Wars series, but we have them coming through later. This was very interesting because as soon as I saw this, I had to hit Pete up. They were doing their like final trial here on this. And I was like, hey, we should get a clip of American Gladiators for all those people who were around back in the late 80s, early 90s. American Gladiators, it looks a lot like that. However, the censorship said we cannot put a video of American Gladiators out here, so we just decided to give you a picture of that. I thought it was really cool.
Oh.
And, go ahead.
A quick Star Wars reference is that Gina Carano was in the reboot of American Gladiators. That's fresh.
There you go. Look at that. Even though that we watched this after that, but it was previous. Yes, very good. Very. That's like following a Star Wars timeline there. Very confusing. Okay. They did introduce us to a weird concept, I guess, but it actually made sense. It made perfect sense that they'd actually hire bounty hunters. This is kind of very interesting because, you know, the Kaminoans. Shannon steps in. That's why we got him here. Kaminoans originally, like that was one of the things they did, right? They hired, technically it wasn't them, but they used the DNA of a bounty hunter to produce the clones. And then now you see 2 bounty hunters who are actually like the training squad of it. I mean, there is a Jedi overseer, a very important one, by the way, and underrated, I might add. But with that being said, because it's Shaq T, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, you know, you do get to see the bounty hunters, and the bounty hunters were kind of cool because it was like 2 different styles, right? One was like, our job isn't just to collect money and train them. Our job is to make them succeed. And the other one was like, I don't really care about these things. Let's just, you know,
they're not good.
They suck. So our buddies from Domino Squad have a little bit of trouble. Some of these we do see later. Well, we see all of them later on, but some of them stay around for a little bit. Like Echo. Echo becomes like a favorite of the clone series. I think they have a Black Series Echo too, don't they?
No.
He definitely makes it on later on because we know what happens to Echo, right? And he might actually show up in the. He's going to show up in the Bad Batch, right? Yes.
Yeah, with one less arm, I believe.
One less arm, yeah, because he was the clone that they captured was Echo. Yeah. So it's kind of funny that they had been mentioning Echo, you know, in the Bad Batch early on when they didn't even know what they were going to do, and then they came back and hit the Bad Batch up. So that's pretty cool, just for you people that are looking for little, I guess, Easter eggs that weren't Easter eggs at the time, but now are Easter eggs.
Retconned Easter eggs.
Retcon, very good. So we got my man Heavy here. We mentioned him already. He was kind of cool. He'd go out and do his own thing. So does anybody want to explain why they were so inconsistent?
Oh, because of the DNA strands being spread thin?
Yes, that was kind of cool. So like they were saying that this group might be affected because after Jango got killed, the DNA, they had used it so much that it started to create like thin strands, and anomalies, and they weren't doing so good. So this group wouldn't like Echo would echo everything, get on everybody's nerves. You had a guy named, was it Cutter or Cut Up or whatever? Cut Up.
Up,
That's what they ended up giving the nickname Cut Up, who just tell jokes all the time. And they just didn't mash. Heavy would go for just bulldoze everything. It's kind of cool. And actually it kind of reminds you a lot of this crew. Like you got the guy that bulldozes in the middle. Then you got the guy that kind of the scientific jokey guy. Then you got the guy that leads it and everything else. So it was really closely based off of those characters when they.
So it's the A team is what you're saying.
What's that?
It's the A team then. You got your BA Baracus and you got
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of
Ace somewhere in there. Murdoch.
It kind of reminds you of what, Jen?
Multiplicity, the movie.
Yeah.
Copy of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
copy.
Yeah, another copy of another copy of another copy. No, that was pretty
That's my
cool.
puppy, Steve.
What was also kind of fun though was that they did show you like the inside and how they chambered everybody and what their areas looked like and everything like that. It really dove into kind of what the daily life of a clone would be, and it gives you that like morality of the clones, which they work later on in. You know, like throughout it, there does come up a lot of questions, and I know Jen's brought this up before. Oh no, Jen brought it up and then didn't show up last week to talk about it, but how that you start to have this like morality issue with clones. Like, are they just disposable or are they actually, you know, are troops? And it's kind of funny because that does kind of tail back to the armies of today, the real life armies. Like let's give them a personality. Let's see what they are. Or are we just using them for the numbers game? And, you know, I mean, it's kind of cool to get that message and not get pounded into your head, but have it subtly put there. Then we get introduced to one of everybody's favorite characters, I think, Clone 99. Anybody want to go take this over for 1 sec?
Pete?
Well, Clone 99, well, I guess he was basically what? Like a bad batch. Like he just came out a little bit wrong. So he ends up, you know, and on maintenance basically, you know, for the team, but he still has, a bit of a fighting spirit there. You know, he's very likable.
You find out that like there's a bunch of them though, because it's like, oh, the cleaning crew are all the clones that couldn't cut it, and you're like, okay, well, we see 99. How many more are there? And like, where are they? Because we don't really, I don't know, do we see any more? Like,
No,
I know
really.
we see like variations of people who like come and go, but we don't see like another 99 type of a clone.
No, 99 does return later, but you're right. You don't see a lot of them, that the maintenance crew and everything like that. But it also brings up a good point. Like if you're assembling this, you do have to have some type of structure. It's so weird how in depth they went with a lot of this stuff too. You know what I mean? And although he is not the only one. He is one of the. He's had a natural deformity, which you just have to think, and it plays into the Bad Batch thing. It's so cool how they set this up. Like I said, it's cool how Dave takes stuff and is like, okay, I kind of said a word or two about it. Now let me expand it. And then you get something that's going to be hopefully a hit in the Bad Batch. So
No, that was 99. Was that his CT number? CT 99, or is he one of the earliest ones? I mean,
yeah, I think that was the point of it, was that he was like one of the early defects. So something had to happen. They don't exactly say, but it's just to give you the impression that every single one, even though it was cloning, there could be cloning problems.
Which is interesting because they always seem so like together and regal, and like later in the seasons you see like how like intricate that they are, that these few just got through, and you're just like, interesting. Oh, you're muted.
So he also becomes like the moral compass of the team, right? Like you have, when they start going out, he gives the whole rah, save one for the Gipper. I couldn't do it. You could. You should be able to be better. You guys should get
going AWOL, so he kind of talked him out of it.
Yeah, and Heavy was going to leave, and at the same time, we have got Brainhead here, who's just like, I'm going to try. I like that he gave the guy the name right, but like it was kind of one of those moments where you're like, a little corny in my book. Like,
like how Solo got his name?
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. But I mean, like they pulled him into like we're having this clandestine meeting with a guy that jokes around on a flight deck in the middle of the night. Like, okay, all right, whatever. And then you give him his nickname.
I had a little bit of like a Joker vibe for a second when he's like, cut up, and then like the way he like started laughing, I was like, okay. Oh
yeah, like Psycho, like the Joker from DC. Yes, there definitely was a little bit of lunacy going on with that. That's kind of funny. So anyways, they give him the second shot at taking it, and we didn't play it back, but they end up using first off, Brady's just like, I'm done, and sets them up and takes their grappling hook. So he wanted, like, if you thought they were so bad, that part also didn't make a lot. Like, you thought they were so bad, why did you take the grappling hooks? Plus, why are you trying to make them fail? Either way,
mean.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he's about to.
He wanted to kill him. He wanted to end them after they failed so many times.
So yeah, maybe it was like he thought it was a reflection on him. I guess I don't know.
No, it's old Yeller. He just wanted to take him out back.
Either way, they end up passing. They end up using a little bit of intuitive thinking. They take everything out. They end up coming and working together. They get the old green light, which was funny because technically it was only one clone ran up there first and grabbed it and put it in there. I was like, why aren't they lecturing him about this is supposed to be a team effort? Why did they stopped it earlier when they were like doing the individual thing? I was like, the first time I watched it, and for some reason it just clicks in my head every time. I'm like, they should stop it. Like they're gonna stop it. They're gonna stop it. Like somehow either Brainy's gonna stop it or like Shakti is gonna be like, yeah, you guys were actually supposed to work with the team and I gave you 2 shots. Obviously, we know that's not how it ends. They all end up getting their medals, despite Brainy, and then he ends up giving it to get this. Yeah. So then Heavy does this thing where he gives the medal to 99 and says, I'm going to come back for you and get it. Thank you for all the help that you did. Hopefully you didn't watch 302 because if you did, it spoils some stuff down the road. Or if you remember what 302 is about. Either way, this was a pretty good episode. You get to see this too. Why do we have Pete?
Just the end of them basically graduating. You got Shakti there, and
it was a good one. It was good. I mean, I thought it was cool. They did a lot of insight into how it actually works. Like that's part of the stuff about Star Wars that I love. It's not just like the main movie storylines. I think when you really get into some of the books, a lot of us have been reading the novels now or listening to them. We're into the comic books and everything like that. And once you start getting into some of these cartoons and stuff, the actual detail that they put into it is what really, has kept me a fan of Star Wars. That's very impressive how they do have a side to everything. It's not just a story. There's actually a point to everything they kind of do to it. Yeah. And I thought this was a very pointed episode. You know what I mean? Like there really is. There's a lot of stuff that was dumped down into it. Apparently Shannon doesn't agree.
Well, it's not that I don't agree. I like the story. When the story moves along, that makes me happy. When they stop and they do a special like they did, and that's basically a special episode to show you how the clone. It just doesn't move the story.
It's a very special episode.
Yeah. It's a good episode, and it does show you how, every clone's a little different. They may be the same, but they are different.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, it's always like Star Wars. Star Wars is for everybody, not every part's for whatever. Filling in the details, that's kind of my gimmick. So I like it. I can understand how it doesn't always fill it in for everybody.
Well, if we didn't see 99 again, then I would agree. And then I felt like, especially these 5, I mean, a couple of them. Anyway, that's for later.
Spoiler on the spoiler alert.
The character development of like seeing where they started, seeing like where they end up, and it's interesting because when I went into Clone Wars way back in like the beginning, I didn't really think much of like the clones, like in the movie, right? I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool that they're all like clones of Jango, okay. But when they start like showing the different, like they are different, because I'm like, well, if you're a clone, then you're the exact same, but it's like no, like each one is different. I was like, oh, okay, and then I didn't think that there could be like a Bad Batch, like. But they did.
Obviously, it's interesting too because with the Domino Squad, you figure that they'd be more predominant. And really, when you think about it, like who do you think of? I know Cody because he's with Obi-Wan, but you think like Rex, Fives, obviously, then obviously Echo because of the Bad Batch thing. But like that's it. Like that's all that came out of Domino. Like obviously Rex didn't, but like you know what I mean. Like that's it. Yeah. You're kind of done there on 2 characters. So that's really interesting too that they didn't actually push it out and keep them alive for that reason. Like they had no problem with killing off people, and we'll get into more of that on our next episode review. All right.
So I was trying to catch up on the chat. Check this out. What JJ put out there for us. That it's actually where Bad Batch gets Clone Force 99's designation from.
Very good, JJ. I like JJ. He's always got something on it. Good. I'm glad you're watching the chat because I
just went back to just kind of check it out.
All right. So we have got to do our little ranking system real quickly for those that are new to this, which maybe there are. We do a clone helmet. Thank you, Pete, for the clone helmets. You can go all the way up from 1 to 5. You can give half helmets. We will give the review. You have to give a little explanation. You can't just say a helmet. You have to tell me why or why not. I don't have my grading for the rest of the week because like there was a game on tonight and it wasn't that exciting. Some of the commercials were good. I like that Bud Light commercial. All right. So we will start with Jen. Jen, since you missed last week, could you please give us a rating 1 to 5? Stay in the parameters, please. I don't think we need to go above 5 helmets this week.
Okay, so it's still 4, and even like the ones from last week, I still watch those, like rewatched them. JJ, we are watching Star Wars Clone Wars in the actual order,
the actual chronological order.
Yeah. So I'm still 4s across the board for I think a tiny bit.
4 across the board. Okay, so you're giving a 4. So you still got 4. So you're staying with 4s across the board all the way down. JJ said, I wonder if watching in this order is more impactful through. Yes, actually, you know what? Because I did watch ahead a little bit. It does. It is it's a great way to watch it. I've done this one before. And then the problem is sometimes you mess up because you like let it play anyways. Like this one, I think I watched 301, 302, 303. But that's because I was also watching it with like 9 of my kids and they weren't letting me go and skip from 301 to 303. So there you go. Pete, she gave it a 4. I know you were going to be a little bit more critical of this episode. Please. What do you have?
Not too critical, because I like when they go back and explain the little details and, hit up those little nooks and crannies I might not have been thinking about. Like, oh, yeah, well, who would they get to, mop up the floors and all that kind of stuff? Oh, might as well get the guys that didn't cut it, the rejects, the Bad Batch. Like, I kind of like that idea. And overall, I mean, it's kind of a standard training kind of thing when you go through the basis of it. It's like, oh, they got to get through. And eventually you think about it when they actually do end up graduating. Now they're just getting shipped off to go die, go face the droids. And this is their life that they're going through. And thinking about that adds a little more weight to what I just watched. So while I'm not going to be too overly critical, I'm going to give it a 3.5 because I do like those extra little details. And overall, I like the impact of like the overall story of it. But basically it is a pretty standard, kind of a training kind of setup, a little, whatever you want to call it, like the first half of Stripes or the first half of Full Metal Jacket kind of thing, like boot camp kind of.
Yeah, very well put. I'm going. All right, Shannon, don't let us down. Now, don't let us down. Let's hear what you got. I know you got a lot of people out there watching you, counting on a great review to come out of you. So let's see the brilliance that happens out in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3.5 too. It's like I said, I am more for storyline. I like to move the story along. I don't like to stop and do what they did. However, we don't get a lot of Shakti. And anytime we can get her is great because she's a great character. She's a cool ass Jedi. And, so that she got a half on that one.
There was that good point where like they were doing that conversation and she's like, yeah, but I think I'm going to give you the chance. And how she did it was really sly and it was really good. So I do appreciate that. You know what's funny is I'm going to give it a 3.5 too. And part of the reason why I'm going to give it a 3.5 is because like anytime you bring American Gladiator into play, dude, you're going to get a couple points from me.
I didn't see it until you said it. Once you pointed out, I was like, oh my God.
Every single time I watch that, that's always what I ever think of was American Gladiator. So, I mean, I like that because that's kind of like, it might not be a real Easter egg or an intentional one, but in my books, it was one. So I'm like, yeah, down. Give me a check mark on that. We got Shakti, which was really cool. I do like to see the interaction between the bounty hunter situation where you're like, yeah, that makes sense. They would have to hire outside people for this. That was their process anyways, and how they took everything over. I do like that they didn't make it so cut and dry. I will say the downer size was like, yeah, it's a little weird. The meeting out on the ramp was a little bit off there. There were a couple parts I wish they would have tightened up. However, all the rest of it, like, and I mean, some of it is that I know stuff already. Like, I know there's going to be a Bad Batch. Like, you know what I mean? And like, some of my favorite characters or some of the favorite characters of the clones that come out later on show up in this episode. I mean, it's a lot of cool episodes. And if you watch it in chronological order, obviously you get to get a deeper feel for some of those. With that being said, they could have made it a little bit better. But do remember, I mean, this is season 3. Like, it was season 3 at this point, right? And until you start getting to like season 4, you really didn't get into your stride of Clone Wars. I think that's when everybody started catching on or whatever.
Let me ask you this: if the first time you watched this and you didn't know all the extras, would you have given it the same grade that you did now?
I probably would have, because the thing with it is I like the humanity aspect of it. Yeah. Now there's only one part. Okay, so this is the problem. You kind of know this wasn't the first humanity clones thing if you watched it in original order, right? That's where it throws it off, because you kind of know some other stuff that happens if you watch it in the original order. So maybe you're right. Maybe if I didn't watch it in this order for the first time, it probably would have been a 3-ish. But if I watched it in this order, if I watched it in chronological order, I think it probably would be around a 3.
This is my first time watching this episode. So
that
is my initial response on it.
All right.
And I agree. Like it would probably be a 3 if I would have watched it in chronological order for the first time. But this is my first time watching it, not 1, 2, 3, like in chronological order.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, season 3 has some bumps in the road as far as like when they actually put this. Like if you watch it, season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There is some areas right here in the 2 and the 3, 4 area where you're like, I really like how they renumbered them, because they were doing like 2-part arcs and stuff that just gave away some stuff. So with that being said, good grades all around. Let's get into our second episode. Well, maybe we should see if we have got any good comments first. Oh, Aaron Yee's here. What's going on, Aaron? We got the regulars in here like all day long. Let's see what's going on. Yoda even senses the difference in the clone, says Aaron. What's going on? One of our good friends, Stick Boy, is here. What's going on, Stick Boy? Darksiders Assemble. I know, like, we got to do it. You know how it goes. So we're going to get back into it. We're going to go into our second half now. Do we have any other news? Pete, what do you got coming up this week as toys?
I haven't decided yet.
Good. That sounds good.
I got a suggestion for Buck Rogers, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that one squared away for this week, but I haven't decided.
I think, hey, Darth Vader 10 comes out this week in comics. So I think on the 9th, we've already had a comic review shot for a couple of weeks on that. We just haven't had a time to drop it. So I think I'm going to drop it on Tuesday so you guys can get caught up on the Darth Vader series. It's a really great series. If you guys aren't following that one, there's a lot of things that they're doing. It's really cool. They're doing like a cameo and first appearance back to back every single time throughout this whole series. It's been good. One of my favorite series that's ongoing right now. So catch that on Tuesday. I'll drop it at some time, even if it's really late. So you can catch it on Wednesday on your way to the comic book store. Jen, do you know what the ladies are doing today?
Oh, yeah. We have a live interview with Richard Hamilton. He wrote Scoops, and he's just a sequel for Scoops, Buried Leads. And then Mystery.
Cool. Well, make sure you guys watch that stuff. Make sure you see what's on the network. Make sure you go down, subscribe. If you aren't subscribed already, give us a like, thumbs up, and give us a comment if you can. Really helps out. All right. So let's go into this one right here. Season 3, episode 3, Supply Lines. If you thought that last one was a little bit dry because of all the backstories, this one starts off just hot action, stuff blowing up all over the place. We get to go on the planet Ryloth, right? Ryloth, which the Tweakins are part of that. They are stranded, for those that don't know. This one right here riding. Oh, and a cool Jedi. We get introduced to a cool Jedi. But the one that's riding there and is leading the resistance happens to be Hera's dad. And we see Baby Hera later. Is she in this one? She might be in a different one. But we get to see Baby Hera either way. They are actually stuck. There is a... the Separatists have created a blockade and aren't allowing anybody in or any supplies in, and they're trying to starve it out. It kind of reminded me a lot of like the Shaw Guerrero story. It's kind of interesting in that way.
It reminded me of 300. I thought that they were in, the gates are in that tunnel. I have total 300 feel on this one.
Absolutely, when they start getting towards it. Obviously, there's a Jedi there to help consult them and help, and they were supposed to have help from the Republic. It's very weird because, like, when you first start getting into the movies and stuff, you hear a lot, like, I was just thinking about this because I was reading Into the Dark, or Dark Into, what is it that book called? Yeah, Into the Dark. And I was just thinking, like, man, a lot, for as much as they were trying to tell us that the Jedi don't get involved and they aren't the Republic, there's a lot of times the Jedi are the Republic, man. And this is one of those episodes where the Jedi are the Republic. It's not the Republic. It's the Jedi who's pretty much doing everything in it. We do get introduced to this species, which is really cool. I like this because I also remember stuff that happened in there. We do get to see the return of somebody's favorite character and what is now becoming a favorite peg holder. By the way, I love it. I don't know if you caught me the other night, for all you people that are hitting up the Instagrams or the messaging, the email, and you're just sending me screenshots and pictures of your Target stores with these, like, it's always one too, never more than one. There's always one just hanging in a Target. I appreciate it. I find it funny. I've been under the weather for the last week. I must have gotten 7 pictures of Jar Jars. I enjoy it. It makes me feel a lot better. I really do appreciate it. So everybody that's doing that, keep it up. Keep the good work. Make sure you're scouring those aisles for other cool figures. There are some really cool ones coming out soon. I've heard a couple have dropped already. So go out there and make sure you're hitting up your targets. And if you feel like going to Wally World, go. I'm not suggesting you should go there. Anyway, so we get to see Jar Jar Binks create a mess again, but now he's got a shirt and tie, or he's got a tie on for some reason. I don't know.
Isn't he a delegate now?
Yeah, he is supposed to be a delegate. They didn't explain that too well either.
Like an ascot.
Yeah. Is that an ascot? That's what you think that is? Yeah, there it is. It kind of looks like the streamer that's on tables that run across the tables that you put the candles on, and he just wrapped it up on his whatever. Anyways, so him and Organa come to talk to a neutral state and say, hey guys, we need a little bit of help. We have to beat down this blockade.
Check out that ship in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that look familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Which one are you talking about, Pete?
Right there in the center. The one that looks like Trench's ship. That.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was odd because I didn't know if they made like a lot of that ship or not, but it just reminded me of him, and he got, blown up.
Yeah, well, also, too, you got to remember, doing cartoons back this way was very time-consuming, so they probably could have used some of the same artwork in it. It's not with the engines now. Very great eye, though. How did you not see American Gladiator, but you saw that? I don't get it.
That was too much in my face. I was looking beyond. I was magic eyeing the whole thing, so I couldn't see the picture in front of me because, what is it, the forest? Couldn't see the forest for the trees or something?
So they kind of clean up this character too, and don't make him so stereotypical as they did in the movies. And they do a really good job with the king here. Pete, would you like to tell me why you put this picture in here?
Well, as I was watching the episode, I knew the voice, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I figured it out, and it's Babu Bhatt from Seinfeld. I mean, he's the actor; he's been in a ton of stuff, but that's how I know it from Seinfeld. So I felt I'd put it in there.
Perfect. Somebody scoop Jen on a voice actor. This is a first. Make sure you mark it down. Give a thumbs up for that, because Jen usually scoops everybody on those. So they go in there, and obviously the separatists. Well, no. So this is very interesting too. So they bring up that Newt Gunray is actually like a rogue agent. And it's not, because they're like doing the wink, wink, nod, and like, no, he's just a little off his rocker. We're just here because we want the Trade Federation to work out. We're not part of the separatists, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh my God. It's one of those moments where like you just hate the characters, right? You just like, would you please just stop lying? So it's good. I like that. I mean, whenever you make
they're doing their job.
Yeah. And Bale kind of lied a little too. I mean, he didn't.
Well, he
didn't hold truth.
Yeah, he didn't tell the whole truth.
They need help.
Yeah.
He was right. Yeah, they need help. They need humanitarian supplies. So they pull off this thing. The king goes, hey, look, it was very interesting too how they did like the heritage thing. Like, we do have a code that we're supposed to help everybody out.
Yeah.
We have this, that, and the other thing. And then the king comes to him and is like,
staying neutral. Like, it comes up a couple times in Clone Wars where there's planets who are just like, I don't agree with this at all. Like, I'm just gonna say neutral. And it's an interesting it's an interesting concept. In this case, I think there's more a financial gain to quote unquote stay neutral, where some of the other planets, you're right, just try to get out of it. It never usually ends well for any of those planets. Yeah. No.
Don't worry, we will revisit this planet later on. Yeah. For all of you that don't remember. So anyways, Organa has this great plan to put Jar Jar Binks in charge of a dinner party. Okay, so that's going to go well. So what the whole point of this is they're going to try to. The king says, like, listen, we can't ignore this, but we also can't get involved because we won't be neutral anymore. But if your ships like disappear while you have a dinner party, well then, so be it. Just make sure you don't get caught, because if you do, we're going to have to expel you guys, and then we're going to actually have to take the side of the separatists. We know what's going on, right? Is that what we all got from that?
Yeah, basically.
Pretty much. So then they do the Jar Jar thing where like the whole distraction is Jar Jar Binks throwing people's food around.
Sex plates.
Yeah, but did you catch it? He was like, did you enjoy this? Are you done? Did you like it? Nothing eaten off the plate. Oh, this is good, huh? And just flicks food, and then you see the one like guard guy going like, this guy's literally throwing food on the ground, which I thought was kind of funny. But then yeah, his whole art form was stacking plates, which distracted for a little bit. He almost slammed it. Then he came up with some. Then he just threw him down, kicked him up a little bit.
Well, he almost gave it away because he kept staring at the ships going by.
Yeah, I know. Like,
But,
why are
like-
you doing the show in front of the windows where they're leaving?
Yeah. And then, but then it worked out because then, like, as they all turn to see what he's looking at, they go behind him, like behind Jar Jar. So it was very like, it was entertaining, but it was like that, like little kid, you're like, hee hee.
If there was ever an argument that Jar Jar Binks might have been a Sith Lord, this is one of the episodes that may have been like, yeah, he might have been part of the Sith. Yeah,
He wasn't even a good Sith. I mean,
yeah, fair enough.
That up too.
Fair enough. Then we kind of get this cool stuff. So they go back into battle action. We get to see what's going to happen. And the Jedi goes, hey, listen, I'm going to hold everything off. There was a cool scene, you're right, with 300 where they decide to collapse it. And they're like, we're just going to let we're not going to let the Jedi fail you. Even if the Republic has failed you, because I'm a Jedi, I'm going to do everything I can so that the Tweakin population can leave through the back door.
Yeah.
I really do feel bad about it. And it gives you that tough choice. Like, there was tough choices out there. It does, like, I think Clone Wars in general gives you the like reality of there's a cost. Like, there's a cost to war. And they do a good job of doing it without like shoving it down your throat. And one of the costs is they're going to sacrifice clones here and they're going to sacrifice a Jedi, which is something you don't see very often. Like, yeah, there's Jedi that die. I know we all know about like the wipeout scenes where we're Order 66ing it, but previous to that, like, it's very rare to see a lot of Jedis go out, especially one that just ends up pretty much sacrificing himself for his own good. Usually they come out on top. They do the little rollout of the lightsaber, which was really cool.
Yeah, while the communicator's going off saying that the ships have arrived, basically.
Yeah. Yep. So the ships have arrived. Organa got them there. And then do we think that's the little Hera there getting food?
It might be.
We don't very well could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
There was another little one that like somebody was like they were leaving. I remember seeing there was like a little possible Hera.
Yeah.
I mean, the kamikaze move's always interesting. Like, that it's in sports, it's in battles. Like, I feel like the kamikaze move, as long as it's for a reason. So as he's fighting and he sees like the ships, it's like, okay, like, this is worth it because it buys him time. But like, I don't know.
See, I think his was acceptance already. Like, I think I think his kamikaze was, it doesn't matter as long as I'm buying time, then I get it. And I think it was bonus cherry on the cake of like,
But he got to see that it worked.
they got to see that it actually worked, which is kind of cool. But like, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that's like, you have to take that into consideration when you're doing the ultimate sacrifice, right? So, cool. So that gives us the end of that episode. Anybody want to add on to that or no? We're good?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, let's go back through it again. So we got some supply lines. We are going to give it the grades 1 through 5. We will start. Who do we start? Jen, we'll just start off with you again. Let me guess what it's going to be.
It's still a 4.
Yeah, still 4. Wow. Okay.
Look, I really liked it. I really liked the Jedi and his commander. Like, the commander had a really cool like brown like design. It wasn't just like a normal one. It was like intricate. I'm like, oh, he's so cool, and like, and then he had the cool scruff, and then I liked him. Kamikaze, okay. It was interesting to see, like, they're still doing blockades. I was like, yeah, they're still doing that thing. Like, Naboo had that, and now this one has it, and you're gonna see it a couple of more times. But like, to how to get around it, like, you can't always just like attack it, and it was interesting.
Yeah, because that was part of it. They were trying to use that one as a stop and go, and they didn't want to turn it into a military satellite, which is also very interesting if you follow history too, that it's just crazy how many military satellites there are, and like that there is some certain area. We're not going to get too far into that, but there's certain areas where, you're like, why do we have a base there? And it's because of where you need to go someplace else. That was really kind of cool that they do keep it pretty much to that. That was cool. All right, so that's 4. We'll let you do that because you just grade everything a 4. All right, Pete. Pete, go ahead.
I was just going to go back to the blockade thing. I don't understand these planetary blockades. It's a planet. Come in on the other side. I don't get it.
Okay, so those the circular things. All right, here we go. All right.
Blockade 101.
Where's the picture? Okay, so here we go. All right,
so me, there's a space ball shield where you got to.
Yeah, no. So that's what it is. So those circuit. That's why like
I know.
can
That
drive
is
through. But then it's not just one. They'll have rings around, and then it'll come up, and then it'll almost create like a full. It's kind of like you can't find the landing pad to get into the planet. Maybe we'll come up with a graphic for it. But that's it. Yes, you're right. It is kind of corny when you only see 3 ships, and you're like, why don't you just? And plus, how do they get through the blockade? I get it, but it's also a cartoon. Yep.
Anyway,
all right, Pete, what do you got?
That part aside, this one would have been really low. This one I had the vibes of just being like a 2 for a while, just because maybe it's Jar Jar, biased against him. Like I just wasn't into it. I'm tired of the Federation like blockade stuff. Like I'm like, all right, no, I said it would have been a 2, but it did get pulled up by the Honorable Samurai, and that bit really did do it for me. So like that half of it, I really enjoyed, like all the Twi'leks, and then you had the sacrifice and what they were going through down there. So I'm going with a solid 3.
All right,
it would have been down there just because the other stuff I was just like, I mean, Babu Bot aside, like I was happy I figured out whose voice that was, but I was like, come on, this dinner can't end fast enough.
Okay, so we're gonna leave Shannon for the end because we got to hear his insight because he did such a good job last time. But so I will also give it. I'll give it 3.5, and I'll give it 3.5 is because a couple things. It introduces some characters that I really do enjoy, like the King. The Jar Jar thing is Jar Jar. I've long past caring or like I don't get mad at Jar Jar. I don't. He is what he is. He's not for me, so it is. I don't care. I do like how they did the whole diplomatic thing. I like how they made sense out of why they wanted the posts there. I did like the action scene. I like the sacrifice. It made sense. I like how they broke down the walls. I like the introduction and like that because you got to remember prior to this, right? We kind of would see a Jedi that looked like a Tweakin and stuff, but you never really saw them as warriors, right? Mm-hmm. This introduced them as a warrior species too, not just because previous and before canon, for people that don't know that, they were thought as like, how can I make this kid friendly?
Dancers.
Yes.
Entertainment.
But yes. Entertainment. Yes, they were. That's what it was. Yep. So that's what they were kind of meant for, like in Jabba's palace and everything like that. But they've now proved that they are kind of more of a species of warriors, which was nice that that's kind of did that. So I thought that was kind of cool. I like the little heartstring tug where the guy was like, "I'm getting mad, but I'm not going to go completely AWOL. Like you let me down." But get Hera's dad, but he's like, but I still have to take care of my people, so I don't have time to deal with this. Like, it is what it is. And then the ultimate sacrifice. There's enough action in there that moved the story forward for me too. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I'm gonna give it the old 3.5 there. All right, Shannon, you take it out. You tell us what you got. And what we got.
This is a tough one. Jar Jar is just so hard to watch. It's just so tough to watch, and I probably would have gave it a 4, but man, as soon as you hear him, it just knocks it right down to a 3. But it's good to see the struggle. It's good to see the struggle between the planets. They're really working to get these guys on their side, and what they go through to do that. Maybe not telling the whole truth. Or whatever, but it was a good episode. I just no Jar Jar. No,
he takes you out of it a little bit. Like
he does. He takes the steam out of the whole episode.
It's like, oh, there's a clown that's a representative. I'm like, hard to take this conversation seriously now.
Yeah,
right. And the whole dancing on the table was too. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of why I knocked it down too, because actually later on, and that was one where I tried to grade it solely on this episode because I really do enjoy later on some of the characters that show up in this series and what happens later on. So it's really cool.
I like to think too that they were starting to juggle how much this is towards kids, how much this was towards adults. It was really a juggling act right there, and they screwed the pooch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of what we were talking about earlier in that like end of 2, 3 area where you're kind of like, oh, it's getting a little rough. I think that's part of the reason why too, is because that it wasn't coming through as well. Do we got some good comments coming through there, Jen, or are we just laughing at me?
About you guys, there's like episodes where it's like Jar Jar's the main character.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, I don't really have a bad problem with Jar Jar, so I'm not gonna go too hard on the Jar Jar thing. I think it just is like, the joking with the table thing and the like, oh, look this way. Now I'm staring over there. Oh, now that's behind me. And like the King's pointing behind him going like, Yeah, there's the ship right there. And you go,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa,
Yeah, I trip over my own ears, but I can juggle plates.
Mhm.
yeah, that's also weird. Yeah.
But I just like the fact that
Darth
I feel
Tripper.
like they never let him go. You know, like when they have those full Jar Jar episodes coming up, you're like, oh, okay. Like I have feeling like in the other episode. Well, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, why is Jar Jar still around? Is that what you're asking?
Well, like because in
Yeah,
Clone
you'd be
Wars,
fired. You'd get voted off the island. Yes.
but in Clone Wars, like there's an episode where he is the lead, and you're like, okay, like are you trying to like redeem him or make him cool? I don't know.
Where he leads troops. Is that what you're saying? Yes. I don't understand.
He's
I
the
don't
one who gave us
understand.
the Empire. Vote Regent support.
Well, hey, listen, Lucas has made some huge mistakes. Obviously, Jar Jar is one of them. So is Han not shooting first anymore. So what? It's still a good series. We get what we get out of it. We will go to the comments for a little bit. Jar Jar was put. Oh, here we go from Stick Boy. Jar Jar was put in his office because he was easily manipulated. Yes. He also, or he was a Darth. We're not 100% sure. It's not confirmed yet. We still are waiting. There is a book where he's like a jester in like a town hall at one point, and people know he's just like gave up it. So that's weird. JJ, what do we got for you? Whatever happened, we are all the Republic. Yeah. Guess that ran its course. Yep, it did.
But he
There
does
is a
say for
balance.
the Republic in this.
What's that?
He does say for the Republic in this.
Yeah. They do run a blockade in the new Thrawn novel series. I think they run a blockade by basically, yes, they do by screening that. But there's tons of different blockades in the way they've done it. Look, it's a cartoon. Anything in season 3, I think going forward, just know it's the transition season, right? Like if you look at Clone Wars as a whole, like if you were watching from 1 and 2, I know everybody's like the movie and the little. We talked about when we did the movie, like when they were making comments about how, the nicknames back and forth, Sky Guy or whatever didn't work out. That really wasn't the problem in Clone Wars, and I think that's why watching it this way makes it a little better. There's some tough issues, tough episodes coming up. Like there is, like these actually standalone are not great episodes. They honestly they aren't. I mean, I think we've all graded them pretty fairly, considering we're watching them in a chronological order. But if you watched them in the regular order, I do remember it was tough. You know what I mean? It's tough to watch it for a season, but sticking it out, you get the payoff. So I hope everybody in chat or everybody that's watching it does the same thing with us and watches it that way. And I hope that by the end, whenever we pause this or whatever, because I think we were talking about the dates that Bad Bad might come. I think we have till May probably. We might be wrong, but we're feeling the Force maybe with us on May 4th. And we might get Bad Batch. So if obviously we're not going to make it all the way through Clone Wars for that. But I think by that point, we'll have a good rhythm on what's going on. I know we're going back to season 1. Speaking of that, I know we're going back to season 1. I have to pull it up for the chart to see what we're watching next week. Next week, I decided to put 4 together. We're going to see how that works a little bit better.
That makes sense.
I think with football and having the movie before, we were kind of just trying to short end these so that they weren't going to get too long. We should be able to flip through these 4. Plus, there's it's 2, 3, and 4 is just one arc. Yeah. So I think that's going to be really good there. I think we might just review that
like 20 minutes or whatever. It's not a lot,
but it's good. So we'll go back to that. It'll be pretty good. Do we have any other good comments, or are we calling it a day? We're at 43 already, man. We're going to be under an hour today, which is nice. Excellent. By the 5th season, I think they hit their stride. Yeah, they definitely hit their stride in the 5th season.
We got a ways to go.
We do have a ways to go, but it'll be intermingled in between, so that's kind of cool. And plus, we get to play off some of the 7th season. And since everybody watched that recently, I don't think we're going to fall back to that. Season 5, everybody, we've got a lot of people in chat saying season 5 is good. All right, so here we go. Shannon, I think we could have you back. We can have a vote on it. If we get 10 thumbs up. No, well, 12, because we had 15 people watch. We get 12 thumbs up. We'll bring Shannon back to do a little bit more reviews for us. If not, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to make a deal or something like that. Yeah. We do appreciate you coming out. We really enjoyed it.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I'm glad you guys had me. It's great. Good. Fun times.
Cool. Thank you. And we appreciate everybody that watches it. And if you do want to come out, just send out the request and we will, it's a pretty easy process. We just make sure your camera works. Make sure, whatever. So, all right, that's it. Anybody else have anything today? Today is Sunday, so Monday, make sure you don't miss the main show, Tales from the Flipside. They will be doing what they normally do, which is market report and a bunch of cool stuff. You will get the Comic Jesus. Is that what they're calling Brian from now on? Is that like his official title now?
That's not
Is that what they call him? I just keep seeing it all the time. I didn't know who they were talking to for the longest time, and then I figured it out because of the beard or hair or something. Anyways, you get him. You get my man Dino. George, Nico is also there too. So you get you get a lot of Greeks on one show. It's a great deal. Go check them out. Paul W probably will show up. That's always a good time. Then Tuesday we have, of course, Jen and Laura and Lucy. I'm just thinking there's something Lucy put up that was really cool, and I can't remember what it was, but in the back of my head, make sure you're following Lucy on the Instagrams. She's got some good stuff out there. Make sure you're doing that. Mm-hmm. Wednesday we have Maximus is got Ultra Maximus has got that cool show that he's doing. What is he called? The Presser?
Wednesday night presser.
Wednesday night presser. That's getting some good pub. Make sure you guys are watching out that. And they'll drop something. They'll drop some of that modern playbook stuff in the morning, usually around that Wednesday too. We will, I promise, I'll put out the Darth Vader review on a Tuesday. So I just got to remember to do it. So I'm promising now I'm going to try to remember that. If not, you can still catch us on Thursday. I think we're doing Ray Sloan. Is that who we're doing? Ray Sloan this week. So we'll have Ray Sloan on Thursday. Pete will have some type of toy for us. Hopefully not Bob Hope, or what are we doing? Roger?
Yeah. I don't know what's going to be coming for this week, but I'll talk about last week's stuff. Last week's dollar bin is Star Wars stuff, so you guys should.
Oh, it was good. Yeah, some great books in there.
Last week's toys was Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if anybody's into that, but I thought it was kind of cool.
There's
And we had Kevin Scott. We talked to.
Yeah,
we didn't think we were going to be able to talk much Star Wars with him, but he went into a bunch of Vader's Castle and stuff for us, so that was kind of cool. So go back and check that out if you haven't already.
Yeah, if you've been following us since the beginning, we're huge fans of Vader Castle. So make sure you go check that out because he gives a little bit of insight in there. It's really cool. I think that was he was one of our first profiles we actually did on the show 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And it turned out we were pretty accurate because when you watch your guys' interview, he says a lot of stuff that we were like, yeah, this, and this. It's oh, cool. He actually is really cool like that. So
yeah, he is.
Evie made it to 10:55. Nice job, guys. Nice. I don't know what time it is now. Oh, that's pretty close. All right. So that's
lots of
we
chocolate.
have yeah, lots of chocolate. We have Saturday MCM. Friday is the Hot 10. That thing is really good, the Hot 10. And then Sunday we'll do another review. So we'll see you next Sunday. Once again, we'll give them one more last list.
1, 2, 3, 4, right?
What? Yeah, 1,
These
2,
are the first
3.
4 episodes.
First 4 episodes. It's very easy to remember. Pete, I'm doing that because I can't find where the exit is. I have screwed up the exit again. I have 100% screwed up the exit again. Hey, may the force be with you always.